just 2 servings of per week had a significantly higher risk of developing dementia. Bad news. After eating the subject's gut became leakier, and they also had metabolically reduced insulin sensitivity. That means that metabolism is not working efficiently. We knew that meats actually are considered a carcinogen, meaning cancer-causing food. We make hundreds of food decisions every single day, and most of them are pretty automatic. We eat what we want, what we like, when we want, and you might even splash some oat milk in your coffee or sip some iced tea in the afternoon. And I bet you think some of these choices are going to be healthy no matter what, or at least they're going to be harmless. But hi everyone, Dr. William Lee here. We make hundreds of food decisions every single day, and most of them are pretty automatic. We eat what we want, what we like, when we want, whatever we can get a hold of, and you might even splash some oat milk in your coffee or grab a healthy wrap on your lunch break or sip some iced tea in the afternoon. And I bet you think some of these choices are going to be healthy no matter what, or at least they're going to be harmless. But new research is starting to tell us we've got to be careful. And it tells us a little bit different stories about common foods and ingredients that are found in these kinds of foods that we think are healthy, but that might actually be working against your body. This is not about character assassination of a whole category of food. This is about the fine details that we all need to be aware of so we can make the best possible choices and avoid those things that could possibly harm our health. So in this episode, I'm going to divide into 3 different items we're going to talk about, most of which I think you probably already have in your kitchen. And we're going to explore what these ingredients are doing inside your body, what researchers have uncovered, and how you can make small changes to protect your gut, protect your brain, and protect your long-term health. By the way, this protection includes lowering your own risk against cancer. Are you ready? Let's begin. The first thing I want to talk about is something called carrageenan. Now, you might have never heard of carrageenan, or maybe you might have seen it and don't recognize or doesn't register to you, but carrageenan, which is spelled C-A-R-R-A-G-E-E-N-A-N. Carrageenan is a gel-like substance that comes from red seaweed. That seaweed is called Chondrus crispus, also known as Irish moss. Now, carrageenan has been used by the food industry for decades for thickening foods, emulsifying foods, stabilizing food products that you're likely to find in the middle aisle of the grocery store, or maybe even in the refrigerated section or the frozen section. Carrageenan helps to improve texture of processed foods, and it also helps to stabilize food that are actually put on the shelf. Now, you might find carrageenan in foods that you wouldn't expect. For example, plant-based milks, supposed to be healthy, right? Almond milk, soy milk, coconut milk, oat milk, they can contain carrageenan. Ice cream, frozen desserts, frozen yogurts, coffee creamers, even the non-dairy ones, prepared soups and sauces, deli meats, pre-sliced turkey or ham, even some vegan cheese products and protein shakes. That's carrageenan can be found in these products. It's also found, by the way, in many organic or natural products. And because it comes from seaweed, carrageenan is often marketed as a natural and plant-based product. And you might automatically think, that means that it's okay, it's healthy. But here's some recent research that is making us take a second look. Researchers from the German Center of Diabetes Research looked at healthy men. These are people between 20 and 35 years old, and they gave them carrageenan to eat at levels that you would actually find people eating from a modern processed diet. What the researchers did is they checked the subject's gut and metabolism and blood markers after 2 weeks. So they looked at it at the beginning and they looked at it after 2 weeks after eating carrageenan at levels that you would actually get from just eating a modern commercial diet. And here's what they found. Bad news. After eating carrageenan, the subjects all had increased gut permeability. That means their gut became leakier, and they also had metabolically reduced insulin sensitivity. That means that, their blood sugars were higher because their their cells were not sensitive enough to insulin to draw it in for energy. Means that metabolism is not working efficiently. By the way, the subjects all who ate carrageenan all had higher levels of inflammation in their bodies as well. So let's break this down. All right, what's going on in the gut? This is food as medicine research. I'm normally talking about things that are good for us, but look, we got to just look at the mechanisms of good and not so good as well. So let's talk first about leaky gut. What is leaky gut? Well, your gut is really a tube that's passing a lot of fluid through it, and it's sitting inside your belly, and it's got cells that actually have to be linked together. We call them tight junctions in the intestinal lining to prevent the stuff from the inside from leaking out. And you know what's inside your intestines, right? It's poop. You don't want that to be leaking out into your belly, right? So the tight junctions of your gut prevent that leakiness. If you actually have leaky gut, that means that the junctions are loosened, and that means that the toxins, bacteria, and other enzymes and things inside the gut, normally inside the tube of your gut, can leak out into your body cavity, can also leak into your bloodstream. Now, even though leaky gut isn't a medical diagnosis, you probably heard about it. Most people recognize the term leaky gut. It's used kind of in a wishy-washy, broad, gray sort of way, but I will tell you that leaky gut, this idea of the tight junctions coming apart and allowing stuff to come out into your body cavity or into your bloodstream, is connected with autoimmune diseases, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue, eczema, itchiness of the skin, and many other chronic conditions. How do you know if you might have leaky gut? Well, it's pretty nonspecific, but you get bloating, cramping in your gut, food sensitivities, you get fatigue, including chronic fatigue, and also brain fog. All right, this is what actually happens. Something in your gut, leakiness, the cells not coming together tightly enough, you start leaking stuff into your bloodstream, everything actually gets affected by it, including your brain. Now, how do you test for leaky gut? Like, when you go to the doctor and say, I think I have leaky gut, what does your doctor actually do? Well, they can conduct tests. So I'm just going to tell you the names of the tests. I'm not going to explain them in great detail, but that way, if you're asking for a test, you should recognize there's something called the lactulose mannitol test. That's actually for leaky gut. There's also something called the zonulin test that actually looks for leaky gut. And they could also conduct tests on your stool and look for leakiness in the stool for secretory IgA, which is an antibody, something called calprotectin, or fecal zonulin. Now, if that all sounds like Latin to you, trust me, these are the things that the doctor should be thinking about. You just need to go to the doctor to say, hey, listen, I'm not feeling well. I wonder if I have leaky gut. Could you offer me some of these tests that I know can actually help us figure this out? That's a potential cause of leaky gut, how you test for leaky gut. How do you treat it? Well, you need to target the root cause, right? The root cause of dietary irritation of the gut. Stress can also cause leaky gut. And even medications can sometimes trigger leaky gut, right? It all depends on what the cause is of how you're actually going to treat it, all right? But here's some general principles. If you got a leaky gut with the lining being pulled apart, you can try to heal the gut. Now, your gut bacteria, healthy gut bacteria, can actually start to do the job. And the best way is to actually eat some fermented food and maybe some targeted probiotics. That can help your gut get healthier, lower the inflammation, get those junctions to stay together more tightly. Imagine like a garden hose with water flowing through it. Leaky gut's like poking it full of holes with a needle. It's going to start leaking, right? Now imagine you're actually going to put some glue on the outside and seal it all up, make that garden hose intact again. Now you don't have any leakiness, all right? So this is what you want to do by helping to heal your gut. Prebiotics, probiotics are all very, very useful. Now we started this conversation talking about carrageenan in a clinical study causing leaky gut, all right? But carrageenan isn't the only cause. That's a key thing I want to tell you about. This is not the clear only offending actor. It's just one of the things that's been discovered by research that can contribute to leaky gut. You could have gluten sensitivity. You could actually have be drinking a lot of alcohol. That can also cause leaky gut. Food additives, all that stuff in ultra processed foods can cause leaky gut, and also stress. If you're somebody who's really stressed out, and Lord knows we live in a stressful world, that can all contribute to leaky gut symptoms. But my point is that the new research shows that carrageenan is just one of the new things that you should be looking out for that could cause digestive problems and leaky gut. And because this is something you can spot on the ingredient label and you can avoid it, put it back if it's got carrageenan in it and you're sensitive to it, you're not feeling well after eating it. It's smart, easy, simple. That's something that you can actually do very, very easily. Now, the best ways to reduce the chances of having a leaky gut caused by carrageenan is to avoid it, And when you avoid it, what do you substitute it with? Well, my rule of thumb is always to go after whole, plant-based, unprocessed foods, right? And load up on those colorful bioactives, polyphenols, dietary fiber. They all actually help gut integrity, right? And by the way, these same plant-based foods, like cruciferous vegetables, berries, they all have anti-inflammatory bioactives. These are Mother Nature's natural chemicals that she's infused and imbued into the food, that when we eat them, not only do we get nourishment, but it also lowers inflammation, and it also helps our gut be healthier, which means those tight junctions are more intact, all right? And by the way, using extra virgin olive oil for your cooking can also help, because olive oil has olive polyphenols like hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal. Those also lower inflammation, and they help your gut heal as well. Oh, what about other tasty things? I'm all about making sure your food tastes great. Spices and herbs all can actually have these anti-inflammatory, gut healthy, gut healing properties as well. Okay, now let's switch to the second thing that I want to talk to you about, and that is basically processed meats. I don't need to tell you that eating hot dogs and sausages and all those kinds of deli meats is not healthy for you. But now there's actually a new reason that these processed meats have been found not to be good by researchers, okay? So previously, by the way, we knew that processed meats actually are considered a carcinogen, meaning cancer-causing substance, chemical, food, and the cancers that they've been linked to include bowel cancer, colorectal cancer, right? That makes sense. You eat a lot of the stuff that's got nitrates, nitrosamines, all these additives that are put in there. Where do they get the most contact? Is in your gut. But remember, there's this gut-brain axis, and now enter the brain's health at risk by eating processed meats. So this is a new study from Harvard Medical School, and looking at something called the UK Biobank. This is one of the largest databases of real-world people over many, many years. And what these researchers did is they looked at 118,000 people over a decade, 10 years. And what they found is that people who ate 2 servings of processed red meat per week, bacon, deli meat, sausages, pretty common, right? That might seem like it might be you or somebody you know. People who ate just 2 servings of processed meat per week had a significantly higher risk of developing dementia. And what about each extra serving per week? Every extra serving of processed meat per week was equivalent to 1 to 2 years of accelerated brain aging, cognitive aging. Now, you might be surprised at this, right? Because I already told you, that processed meat's linked with increased cancer risk, but did you know, now you do know, that it's associated with cognitive decline and increased risk of dementia. So what's going on? Well, the same things that increase cancer risk, nitrates, nitrites, preservatives, coloring, artificial flavorings, these things, once they get into your bloodstream, right? So you're eating the processed meats, all the stuff is being absorbed and goes into your bloodstream. These chemicals can increase oxidative stress, which then can cause neuroinflammation. That's inflammation of the brain cells. And that actually is thought to be a contributor to the development of dementia. Processed meats are also very high in sodium, salt, right? It's very salty because salt tastes good. So most of these processed meats actually have a lot of salt in them. Salt's also a preservative, which is one way to preserve the processed meats. And high salt can actually damage the lining of the blood vessels in the brain as well. And you need good blood flow, good blood vessels in order to keep good brain function. Now that I told you that in that study, the people who ate processed meats, even just 2 times a week, 2 servings a week, had an increased risk of developing dementia, is there any good news to this? Well, here's the thing. That study, that researchers also found something beneficial. And that is that if the subjects replaced processed meats with nuts and legumes, so ditch the meat, okay, swap in nuts and legumes, beans, chickpeas, soybeans, etc. Guess what? Their dementia risk dropped by 20%. Swap out the processed meat, swap in the nuts and legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, okay? You swap it in, you drop your risk of dementia. What do the nuts and legumes do? They actually provide prebiotic dietary fiber, healthy fats, and they make your gut bacteria, your microbiome, healthier. What does that do? Well, a healthy microbiome lowers inflammation everywhere in your body, including in your brain. That's what we want. Some nuts also have some omega-3 fatty acids, right? These are antioxidants. They protect against oxidative stress in your brain. And omega-3s are also good for gut health as well. So all of this collectively can protect against neurodegeneration. So what's my pro tip for you? Well, here's some smart swaps that you can make. First, regardless of what you're eating normally, try adding some anti-inflammatory foods. Try lentils. That's a really good source of dietary fiber. All right. Replace your sandwich that has deli meat in it with a lentil salad. That's a big swap in that can actually be beneficial. By the way, there's a lot of ways to make a lentil salad taste great. Just search it on the internet. Tasty lentil salad, meatless. All right. And you can actually find ways to season it, and it's really absolutely delicious. And you get a lot of protein there too as well. You can add chickpeas to a soup. Or if you have a bowl, have some chickpeas that you're going to season up with some spices. That gives you the dietary fiber. Or snacking on some walnuts or almonds instead of snacking on cured meats. Listen, who doesn't like a nice charcuterie platter? Well, I'll tell you, just remember that snacking on these, the servings, every serving you have actually contributes to more dementia. And cutting them up and swapping in good foods protects your brain. Really, really important to protect your brain now, not when you're in trouble. And you're going to be glad for that, by the way. By doing these swap-ins now, nuts, legumes, all right, instead of deli meats, you're going to reap the benefits from this 10, 20, 30 years from now. It's kind of like a retirement plan. If you do it now, you're going to actually really enjoy the wealth of the health that you're actually going to get years from now, decades from now. Okay, third thing I want to turn to, and you've heard me talk about this before, but there's some new information I want to share with you, and that is sugary beverages. So you already know from me and other people that sodas, drinking sodas, both regular soda and diet soda, link to obesity, diabetes, and other health risks as well, right? But new research suggests that sugary beverages are linked to oral cancer, all right? Now, this is a study by researchers from the University of Washington and the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle. It's a 30-year study, big study, looking at 162,000 women. This is not a small study. This is the big one. And what the researchers found is that women who drank one or more sugary beverages per day had a 5-fold increased risk of oral cancer. And by the way, among people who drank alcohol on top of having sugary beverages, guess what? The risk went even higher. So from 5 times higher to 5.5 times higher. You don't want to have oral cancer, no matter what, okay? You've heard of people, well-known celebrities that have actually had oral cancer, throat cancer, Val Kilmer, Michael Douglas. You know, these are all the people that are struggling with oral cancers, right? So what's the cause of this? Why does sugary beverages cause oral cancer? Now, I'm a real scientist, and real scientists don't know everything. So I'm going to tell you very honestly, we don't know exactly why sugary beverages cause this, but the research is showing that there's an increased risk. So what do we know? Well, we know that sugar, extra sugar, added sugar, can feed harmful bacteria in your mouth. And that means that it can change your mouth microbiome. We tend to think of our gut microbiome in our lower gut, in our colon. Nope, actually starts right here. Your mouth is the beginning of the gastrointestinal tract. When you're talking about gut microbiome, it actually starts in your mouth. You know, cavities are caused by harmful bacteria, gum disease made worse by harmful bacteria. And guess what now? Harmful bacteria actually been associated with oral cancers as well. So by feeding with lots of extra sugar, I'm not talking about sugar from fruits. I'm talking about added sugar from sugary beverages. That can actually feed the harmful bacteria. Now, the other thing is that sugar also increases oxidative stress in gum tissue. So you've heard of oxidative stress. It's like cellular stress. If you've ever felt stressed out sitting in a traffic jam, like, you know, you're in a hurry, you got to get someplace and you just feel like blood pressure rising and you're looking at your watch and like you're going to be late and it's very, very stressful. All right, now think about that at the cellular level. If your cells feel that all the time because of the increased stress caused by added sugar, guess what? You get bad bacteria, you got stress. These are sort of the fuel to actually create changes at the cells that can lead to cancers. Carcinogenic. Besides diabetes, besides the obesity, here's another reason to cut down or cut out your sugary beverages. All right, at least it's a regular habit. Every now and then you want to drink something sugary, I think it's fine. I'm a pragmatist and a realist, so this is not about cutting out everything from your whole life. This is just being armed so that you're aware and you can make rational choices. It's your choice what you actually do. What are some hidden sources of sugars? Well, one of them are flavored iced tea, fruit juices that are labeled natural fruit juices. Coconut water even can also have added sweeteners. What you got to do, and I'm going to say this again and again and again in my videos, is you have to check the ingredient label. If it comes in a can, if it comes in a box, all right, if it's prepackaged, comes from a factory, always check the ingredient label. And you better feel comfortable that what you're putting in your body is okay if you're going to buy that product. Here's some other ones. Healthy smoothies or pre-made juices sometimes have a lot of added sugar. Again, where are you going to find that? In the ingredient label. Okay, so what's the solution? What should you drink instead? Well, number one, green tea tends to be really good as long as it's not sweetened. Like you don't buy it pre-sweetened for you. One thing you could do is buy some green tea, brew it yourself. You put it, make sun tea if you want to put it in a glass container and set it outside, or just brew some tea with some hot water and let it dissolve. You can stick it in the fridge. Now you've got iced green tea, healthy for you. If you want to use hibiscus, this is something I learned not too long ago. It's basically hibiscus flowers. It's got citrus, got a lot of vitamin C to it, which is beneficial. Put hot water in it, and guess what? The water will turn beautiful purple red. A lot of anthocyanins, which are anti-inflammatory, cancer-starving, cancer-fighting, anti-inflammatory. Good for the gut microbiome. Hibiscus tea is another thing. As long as you actually are not adding sugar to it. Want to make it a little sweeter, add a little touch of honey. It's actually probably a good way to go. All right. Or you want to just cut some whole fruit, oranges, limes, strawberries, stick them into your homemade tea, stick it in the fridge. If it's a hot day, you can pull it out and you can sip on it. You'll actually get the natural sweetness from the fruit itself. And you'll also get some more polyphenols as well. That's beneficial. All right. Those are some of my pro tips for you. Or, by the way, I always want to tell people, drink plain water. If in doubt, you don't need to come up with a juice or a soft drink. Okay. Water is an underrated beverage. In fact, water is one of the holy trinity of healthy beverages. Water, tea, coffee. Those are the three holy trinities of healthy beverages. Water is fine. Let's zoom back for a second, give you the big picture. Carrageenan, processed meats, sugary drinks. They don't seem to be related, but underneath they cause a common problem. Chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation over time disrupts your critical body systems, wears down your health defenses, stresses out your cells. And in the long term, this increases your risk of long-term diseases like cancer, like metabolic diseases, like cardiovascular diseases, and like brain and cognitive diseases as well. Bottom line, and what I'm really trying to tell you with these videos is that you can take control, all right? Number one, read the ingredient label if you're buying something out of the middle aisle or out of a shelf or a box or a can. Swap out your processed meats with nuts or legumes. All right, and don't choose that sugary beverage. You can make your own beverages too, and then you can control what you put into it. These three simple choices that you can make every single day can cut down on your risk of leaky gut, bad for gut health, bad for brain health, dementia, all right, cognitive problems, more than where'd I put my keys, and cut down on your risk of oral cancer, all based on research done in humans connecting these substances that are pretty common. Remember how I started this video? Common things that you might not think might have some harm. The new research is causing us to take a second look. As they say, our lives are the sum of all the choices that we make. So here's one more choice I'd like you to make right now. Go to your refrigerator or your pantry, scan around, take a look around it, and find one product that has carrageenan or a hidden sugar in it. Remove it and replace it next time you're at the store with something that doesn't have carrageenan or added sugar. And I want to hear from you, by the way. What's that one everyday food or drink that you are now thinking about differently. Just drop what you discovered, what you decided to do in the comment below. And by the way, if this video opened your eyes, all right, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with somebody who you think would like to hear it or needs to hear it. You got the knowledge. Now you can put it to work. Until next time, Dr. Lee out.
Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.